Hi, my name is Daphne, and I'm going to be doing my project on Michael Jackson and his life. So, from the Ford perspective, I put the defense mechanism as regression because Michael Jackson would revert back to childlike behaviors, which is one of the reasons why he may have created Netherland in the first place at his house. And Michael is more fixated in the anal stage, and it's because of his obsessions with tidiness and orderliness when it came to his performance, and each music video and song he had to top the next one because he was like that strict about it. For Brender's theory, Michael was growing up had an abusive father, and he always had to rehearse, so he never really had friends or never really went to school. So this caused him to be more soft spoken whenever he spoke, and which is why I put introversion. And for self efficacy, he had a high one, and he also had high outcome expectations. He was a hard worker. He did what he had to do in order to excel in what he did, and like I mentioned before, he always had to outdo his last performance, which is why I put that he had high outcome expectations. For Adler's theory, um, Michael made a song called Childhood, and in this song he explains how he never had a childhood and how he's been searching for it. And inferiority complex, Michael was known for changing his appearance, and he's changed it multiple times, as you can see in the picture below. For Erickson's theory, initiative versus guilt. Um, Whenever Michael wanted to act like a child, his father would get mad. So his father forced him to to his father basically forced him to show business and made him feel like that's what he had to do. So he did feel a lot of guilt if he didn't perform well. And for industry versus inferiority, the more Michael sang with his brothers, the more people started to acknowledge them. And when he was in the Jackson 5, he was nominated twice for a Grammy Award but didn't win. But he got that feeling, that acknowledgement that made him want to push forward. For intimacy versus isolation, Michael was married twice to two different women, and because he has intimacy issues, he was divorced. He did divorce both women, and it was even to the point where even before he divorced his second wife, he had his wife sign a contract saying that he would get custody of the children and she would not have any contact with them whatsoever. Now, for Roger's theory, Michael Jackson's ideal self was like he was more of a kid, so he was like a kid at heart. He would never grow up. People compared him to like Peter Pan, and in the movies, Peter Pan was always a kid. He never wanted to grow up. But his real self is he was an artist and he was great at what he did. So sometimes that would conflict because he would act more like a child, and instead of acting like a grown man he's supposed to be. But his real self, like he is an artist, he is a grown man. For Maslow's theory, I feel like everything. I feel like his psychological needs were met, physiological needs were met, his safety needs were met when he was young. For love and belonging needs, they weren't met until he had children and until he became the pop star that he was, because that love, he never felt loved growing up, and that love he got from his fans and from his children, so that made him feel better about himself. Um, Esteem needs were met when he became the pop star that he is now, and he's still um, the most popular pop star that there is. But I feel like Michael Jackson never made it to self-actualization because of the setbacks that he had.